What is up, legend? Welcome back to the channel where we master English by diving into the lives of the world's most incredible people. Before we even start, I need you to do two things for me right now. First, smash that like button until it turns blue. Do it. Second, obliterate that subscribe button. Don't just click it, destroy it. You are here to learn, and I am here to teach. So show me you're serious. Now, let's get into it. Today, we're talking about a man who became a global symbol of struggle, resilience, and reconciliation. A man who spent nearly 3 decades in prison only to emerge and lead his nation out of the darkness of racial segregation. His name was Nelson Mandela, but to his people, he was Madiba, a term of endearment and deep respect. His story isn't just about politics. It's about the incredible power of the human spirit to forgive and to build a better future from the ashes of a painful past. Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela was born on July 18, 1918, in a small village called Imvezo in the Eastern Cape of South Africa. His birth name, Rolihlahla, in the Xhosa language, prophetically means pulling the branch of a tree, or more colloquially, troublemaker. It was a name that would foreshadow the path he was destined to walk. His father was a chief, a man of local importance, which gave young Nelson a privileged start in life, at least compared to many others. However, his father passed away when he was just 9 years old, and he was then sent to be raised by the regent or acting ruler of the Vambu people. This upbringing exposed him to the traditions of his people and the responsibilities of leadership. He listened intently as tribal elders discussed community issues, absorbing the principles of consensus and justice. It was during these years that the seeds of his future leadership were sown. But his education was not just traditional. He was one of the few black South Africans of his time to receive a formal Western education. He attended a Methodist mission school where a teacher gave him the English name Nelson, a common practice at the time. He later went on to study at the University of Fort Hare, a premier institution for black students in Southern Africa. It was at university that his political consciousness began to awaken. He became involved in student protests against the university's policies and was eventually expelled for his role in a student strike. This was his first real taste of activism. Unwilling to accept an arranged marriage back home, he fled to Johannesburg, the bustling heart of South Africa. The city was a world away from his rural village. Here, he witnessed the harsh reality of apartheid firsthand. Apartheid, which means apartness in Afrikaans, was a system of institutionalized racial segregation and discrimination enforced by the white minority government. In Johannesburg, Mandela completed his law degree through correspondence and along with his friend Oliver Tambo, opened the first black-owned law firm in the country. Their office was a beacon of hope for countless black South Africans who had nowhere else to turn for legal help. They fought against the unjust laws of apartheid, representing people who were being forcibly removed from their homes, arrested for not carrying passbooks, or denied basic human rights simply because of the color of their skin. This daily confrontation with the brutality of the system solidified his resolve to fight it. He soon joined the African National Congress, or ANC, a political party dedicated to ending apartheid. At first, the ANC advocated for nonviolent protest, inspired by leaders like Mahatma Gandhi. Mandela, along with other young, energetic members like Oliver Tambo and Walter Sisulu, formed the ANC Youth League. They felt the older generation was too cautious and that more radical action was needed. They organized boycotts, strikes, and acts of civil disobedience, deliberately breaking unjust laws to overwhelm the system and highlight its cruelty to the world. One of the most infamous events that pushed Mandela and the ANC towards a more militant stance was the Sharpeville massacre in 1960. Police opened fire on a crowd of peaceful protesters, killing 69 people, many of whom were shot in the back as they tried to flee. This brutal act convinced Mandela that nonviolent protests alone was not enough. The government responded by banning the ANC and other anti-apartheid groups, forcing them to operate underground. In this new, dangerous phase of the struggle, Mandela co-founded and became the leader of the ANC's armed wing, Umkhonto we Sizwe, which means spear of the nation. Their strategy was not to harm civilians, but to target government and military installations, symbols of the apartheid state. They conducted acts of sabotage, bombing power plants and transportation links. For Mandela, this was a last resort, a necessary step taken only after all peaceful avenues had been exhausted. He became a master of disguise, living on the run, constantly moving to avoid capture. His ability to evade the police earned him the nickname the Black Pimpernel. But his freedom was short-lived. In 1962, he was arrested and initially sentenced to 5 years in prison for leaving the country illegally and inciting strikes. However, while he was serving this sentence, police raided a secret ANC hideout in Rivonia, a suburb of Johannesburg. They discovered documents that implicated Mandela and other leaders in planning armed resistance. This led to the infamous Rivonia trial. In 1964, Mandela and his comrades were put on trial for sabotage and conspiracy to overthrow the government. The charges were serious, and the death penalty was a very real possibility. It was from the dock, during this trial, that Mandela delivered one of the most powerful speeches of the 20th century. He concluded his 4-hour statement with words that would echo around the world. I have fought against white domination, and I have fought against black domination. I have cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society in which all persons live together in harmony and with equal opportunities. It is an ideal which I hope to live for and to achieve. But if needs be, it is an ideal for which I am prepared to die. He and his fellow accused were spared the death penalty, but were sentenced to life in prison. Mandela was sent to the notorious Robben Island, a windswept, maximum security prison off the coast of Cape Town. He would spend the next 18 of his 27 years in prison there. Life on Robben Island was brutal. Prisoners were forced to do hard labor in a lime quarry. The bright glare from the limestone permanently damaged Mandela's eyesight. They were subjected to meager rations and degrading treatment. Communication with the outside world was severely restricted. Yet, even in these horrific conditions, Mandela's spirit refused to be broken. He became a leader among the prisoners, turning the prison into a university. The political prisoners educated each other, holding secret classes and debates. Mandela taught others to read and write, and he learned the Afrikaans language spoken by his jailers. He understood that to defeat your enemy, you must first understand them. He maintained his discipline, exercising daily in his tiny cell and studying. He never lost sight of the goal, a free South Africa. While Mandela was imprisoned, the anti-apartheid movement grew stronger, both inside South Africa and internationally. A global campaign for his release was launched. The slogan, "Free Nelson Mandela," became a rallying cry for activists, musicians, and politicians worldwide. Concerts were held, sanctions were imposed on the South African government, and the pressure mounted relentlessly. Mandela had become the world's most famous political prisoner, a living symbol of the fight for freedom. In the late 1980s, the apartheid regime began to realize its system was unsustainable. The country was isolated, its economy was struggling under sanctions, and civil unrest was rampant. The government began secret negotiations with the imprisoned Mandela. Finally, on February 11, 1990, the moment the world had been waiting for arrived. After 27 long years, a 71-year-old Nelson Mandela walked out of Victor Verster prison a free man. The images of him walking hand in hand with his wife, Winnie, with his fist raised in a symbol of victory, were broadcast across the globe. But freedom from prison was just the beginning of his next great challenge: dismantling apartheid and building a new, democratic South Africa. The transition was fraught with danger. Violence erupted between different political factions, and there was a constant threat of civil war. Mandela, with his immense moral authority, played a crucial role in calming tensions. He traveled the country, urging peace and reconciliation. He negotiated with the white president, F.W. de Klerk, to chart a path to a non-racial democracy. For their efforts, both men were jointly awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1993. In 1994, South Africa held its first ever elections in which all citizens, regardless of race, could vote. It was a moment of incredible triumph and emotion. Long lines of people, many of whom were voting for the first time in their lives, snaked through towns and cities. Nelson Mandela, the former political prisoner, was overwhelmingly elected as the first black president of South Africa. His inauguration was a celebration of a new rainbow nation, a term coined by Archbishop Desmond Tutu to describe a country where people of all colors could live together in peace. As president, Mandela faced the monumental task of healing a deeply divided nation. One of his most remarkable acts was his embrace of rugby, a sport that had long been a symbol of white Afrikaner pride. When South Africa hosted the 1995 Rugby World Cup, Mandela famously wore the Springbok jersey, the team's emblem, walked onto the field to congratulate the victorious, predominantly white South African team. This simple gesture was a powerful act of reconciliation, signaling to white South Africans that they had a place in the new nation. He prioritized forgiveness over revenge, establishing the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, where victims of apartheid could tell their stories and perpetrators could confess their crimes in exchange for amnesty. It was a painful but necessary process for national healing. Mandela served only one term as president, stepping down in 1999, demonstrating his commitment to democratic principles and his belief in passing the torch to a new generation of leaders. Even after his presidency, he remained a tireless advocate for peace, health, and education through the Nelson Mandela Foundation. He became a global elder statesman, a moral compass for the world. He passed away on December 5, 2013, at the age of 95. His death prompted a global outpouring of grief and tribute, a testament to the profound impact he had on the world. Nelson Mandela's story is a powerful lesson in perseverance, forgiveness, and the belief that one person can indeed change the world. From a troublemaking boy in a small village to a revolutionary, a prisoner, a president, and finally, a global icon of peace. He showed us that our past does not have to define our future, and that even after the darkest of storms, a rainbow can emerge. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey today. I hope you feel as inspired as I do. If you learned something new and improved your English along the way, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more stories about the people who shaped our world. I'll see you in the next video. Stay legendary.